back. Well, today we have Beverly and Carol here from the Reformed Temple, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about Passover celebration that is coming up this Wednesday. Well, ladies, thank you for joining me. How are you both doing?
Very well. Thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Passover and sort of some of the meanings behind it, and what are some things people can do because they really can't celebrate right now, in a normal situation.
Yes, that's true. Well, Passover is going to start on the evening this coming Wednesday, April 8th, and Jews all over the world will begin celebrating this holiday. It lasts for 8 days. Traditionally, the days leading up to the holiday are spent preparing because we separate this time of the year from the rest of the year, both in the foods that we eat and the dishes that we use. Since this takes place in the springtime, many of our homes are decorated with fresh flowers, bringing to mind new beginnings and new life in the promised land. Passover is the holiday which recreates symbolically the story of the miraculous exodus of Hebrew slaves from the land of Egypt more than 3,000 years ago, as recounted in the book of Exodus. We recall the time over 1,000 years after Abraham, when Jews were living as slaves in Egypt. Their leader, a prophet called Moses, was instructed by God to lead the Jews out of slavery and into the Holy Land that God had promised them. The holiday of Passover is a celebration of liberation, the universal desire of mankind to be free. It is a yearning which all people can identify with. On Passover, we are compelled to acknowledge our freedom, but also to note where slavery still exists. As Emma Lazarus noted, until we are all free, none of us are free. Slavery still exists in many forms: human trafficking, child labor, forced marriages, and debt bondage are all forms of modern slavery. That is why the Passover story is as relevant now as it ever was. Because Jews were delivered from bondage, we feel that it is imperative on us to work to set others free. And Carol is going to explain a little bit about the Seder that we celebrate during this season. Carol?
Okay. All right, Carol.
Okay, well, Jews are commanded each year to retell the story of the Exodus so that each of us personally feels as if we came out of Egypt. And why is this important? So that we remember our obligation not to mistreat others and work toward a time when all people are free. Additionally, we rejoice in gratitude in our deliverance. Passover is a serious holiday, but also a joyful holiday. And the main way that we celebrate is with the Seder Meal, which is celebrated with family and friends on the first, and for many people, Jews around the world, on the second night of the 8-day holiday. And in a minute, Beverly, I'll get to showing the Seder Plate and what that means.
Oh, yeah, she's got a little sample there.
Right. It is an especially inclusive holiday and is a tradition in many families' homes to invite people who may not have friends or family nearby and have no Seder to attend. Seder means order. And the purpose of this service and the meal is in a specific order and structure to retell the story of our slavery and redemption. It is a symbolic recreation of the story. The Seder consists of prayers, readings, and songs, and dinner, during which time we eat special foods to remind us of our slavery. For example, we eat bitter herbs like horseradish to remind us of the bitterness of slavery. We eat a mixture of chopped apples, nuts, and wine called haroset to resemble the mortar of the bricks that the Hebrew slaves built into cities. We eat matzah, the unleavened bread, that reminds us that when Pharaoh agreed to let the Hebrews leave Egypt, they were in such a hurry that they didn't have time for their bread to rise. And so we eat this matzah to remind us. And we eat this matzah and unleavened foods throughout the holiday. The service and the foods of the Seder are made up of these and many more symbols that help us relive the experience. Now, Beverly, if you would show the Seder plate.
But yeah, tell me what the plate, what are all the little spaces there for?
Okay, so this is a Seder plate, which is found on every Seder table, and it has a special place. All of those little indentations are places for specific foods that symbolize each part of the story.
Okay.
For example, the bitter herbs for the bitterness of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
The egg signifying new life
Mm-hmm.
and rebirth. The shank bone, which reminds us of the Paschal Lamb sacrifice.
Okay.
Salt water, reminding us of the tears that the Hebrews shed. Haroset, to remind us of the mortar. And parsley, that reminds us of the new spring season.
Okay.
Also, there are all different kinds of Seder plates, very traditional ones. Beverly is showing you a fairly traditional ones. There's some very modern ones, and you don't even need a special plate. You can make your own as long as you have all the symbols on it.
Right.
The other thing that Beverly's going to hold up is something called the Haggadah. The Haggadah, and the word is a Hebrew word that comes from the Hebrew word to tell. Again, it contains the order of the Seder from beginning to end, and the retelling of the story, which we are commanded to do.
Right.
And there are many. She's holding up two different Haggadahs. There are many different types and many different traditions practiced. Some of the Haggadahs are more traditional, and more of them are more modern interpretations of the significance of the holiday and how relevant it is to us today.
Okay.
So
do you all read that at around the table type of a thing?
Everybody participates.
Okay.
And I happen to personally own a Haggadah that has many readings of civil rights from the civil rights era, from Martin Luther King.
All right.
Again, has relevance to how we celebrate this holiday and why really it belongs to all of us, not just Jewish people. Right.
And let's talk about some of the food. Now, hang on just a second, Carol. Let's talk a little bit about some of the food that you guys would normally serve. I mean, obviously the things that you mentioned, but beyond that, Beverly, what are some types of foods that you would have?
Well, different people have different foods all over the world. People practice how they eat a little bit differently.
All right.
What they eat in Ethiopia will be different than what they eat in Caracas and what they eat in Morocco.
Okay.
The Sephardic Jews will eat beans and rice during Passover, whereas the Ashkenazi Jews would not.
Okay.
The dinner basically would be a festive dinner. It would be, might be chicken, might be lamb, might be, which is spring, with vegetables. But the foods that they eat during the ceremony were the ones that Carol talked about. Mm-hmm. You eat some of the roasted eggs, some of the haraset with matzah. Those are the kinds of foods that you.
Okay.
And wine. Wine is a big thing.
Well, we're all drinking wine now.
4 glasses of wine through the ceremony. And some people take that very literally.
Right. Go ahead, Carol.
One thing I think that both Beverly and I can relate to is the fact that this, like most Jewish holidays, the food might be modified somewhat, but they're still in a traditional Seder meal would be matzo ball soup, gefilte fish, lamb or chicken, maybe kugel, a potato kugel.
Sure.
And those are, synonymous with Jewish cooking. And as Beverly says, in other parts of the world, it might be different. But for us and for many of us, that's what we would expect to eat at a Seder meal.
Lisa, I wanted to say that this year, when we ask why is this night different from all other nights, which is part of the ceremony during the Seder, there'll be another difference. Normally, our Seder celebrations are spent with family and friends in our homes and in our synagogues. Every year, the Reformed Temple invites the community to join us in our celebration of the Passover Seder. This year, many will be congregating at a distance, connecting electronically over the internet while practicing social distancing. And although we will certainly miss the in-person connection, we will be seeking creative ways to commemorate this special time of year, reaching out to each other.
Good.
There will be many Seders to be joined and watched on YouTube, Zoom, and other social platforms. And the special foods we eat throughout the week are available in our community here in Laguna Woods. Many stores here sell them, and some of them are offering them to be delivered to your homes.
Fantastic.
And I did want to mention that on behalf of the Reformed Temple, Carol and I want to wish everyone a healthy and safe Passover holiday this year.
Excellent, excellent. Carol, last words for you?
Well, I don't think I could say it any better than Beverly has said it. You know, it is different. It provides us with new challenges, but it also provides us with new ways to connect with each other that I doubt will go away when this whole crisis is over.
Right,
So
I believe it. You're right, you're right. I mean, we're so lucky to have Zoom now. I mean, this has worked out very well for us here in the studio because I can interview you guys and talk to you about the things that you're doing. So you're now part of our In Your Neighborhood segment that we've been bringing to you. So I'm very thankful you were able to join us. So you guys have a great Passover. Stay healthy and safe, and we will talk to you again.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye, Carol. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, you too. And we'll be right back after this.